What's good, everybody? Well, happy Thursday. Another full set of things to talk about, man. Every day I wake up and there's like 10 new things that I see on the timeline. So, very exciting. All of our friends are down in Nashville and we're going to have a fun Inscription show. We actually have a few more things to talk about than just Bitcoin this morning. But first and foremost, I want to say hello to my lovely co-host, Chris. And we have Adam, who is down in Nashville, couldn't make it this week, but he's putting in amazing work. What's up, Chris? Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I want to pull up here on the timeline. And can you hear me okay? Is my audio okay? Yeah, something's happening on my phone, so I'm gonna have to figure that out here in a second. First and foremost, we woke up and saw that Marathon is pulling a Michael Saylor here and purchasing $100 million worth of Bitcoin and putting it on the balance sheet. What an absolute crazy time that we live with. I think this is now maybe the second or third publicly traded company that has put Bitcoin on its balance sheet. I'm going to pull up here their official announcement out here of Fort Lauderdale. They said they are adopting a full hold HODL strategy, which reflects our confidence in the long-term value of Bitcoin, said Fred Thiels-Mara's chairman and CEO. We believe Bitcoin is the world's best treasury reserve asset and support the idea of sovereign wealth funds holding it. We encourage governments and corporations to hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Chris, what's your take on this? Do you think we're going to see a lot more publicly traded companies adopt Bitcoin? And will we ever see a company that's not just a Bitcoin company put some Bitcoin on their balance sheet? Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better. I do think it is kind of weird that they do come out now and say that, but I'm assuming they've probably had this strategy for some months and now they just wanted to come out and say this during the biggest Bitcoin conference probably in the history of crypto, or at least the most important. I do know some of the speeches begin today. A really cool, this is actually quite exciting that I saw this recent announcement this morning from Xverse in a collaboration with Magic Eden, Unisat, and DotSwap. We've had DotSwap and Lynn on the show here a few times. DotSwap's a leading AMM in the ongoing Bitcoin DeFi space. There's a handful of them that we've had here on the show over the last, I guess you'd say, few months. And we've really been looking to see who's going to take the lead here. And I think this is DotSwap effectively, putting their stuff on the table and saying that we are not going to go away anytime soon. So this morning, Xverse announced that they have added a swap tool directly into the Xverse wallet. This would be something similar that you see on MetaMask, where you can swap directly, where it has Uniswap directly built into it, to where you can swap ETH for USDC, right, or ETH for WETH. And I believe Phantom has the same swap mechanism for all of the Solana trading assets. Doing this on Bitcoin a little bit more difficult. So Exers comes out and says, we believe this is a giant step for moving the space forward, removing barriers to adoption and making it easier for new users to participate in the Runes ecosystem. They go on to say that the feature allows people to select Runes or Bitcoin as a base currency, matching the best rates. Going in and looking at this a little bit more, right? They added this with the UTXO model, which is again quite difficult. And it looks like here they are using the pools from a dot swap is where they are getting the liquidity from. So I think this is a big move. This is a big integration. As you know how businesses and partnerships work, the more of these type of integrations you get, the harder it is for that company to basically disappear, because now you have, larger infrastructure providers using your APIs, using your liquidity pools, which go on to encourage people participating in the ecosystem. I want to pull up here dot swap. I want to see how much liquidity they have, because I'm kind of curious at this point. If we go in, it says that they have, let's see. So in the last day, that's not bad. The last day, dot swap has had 12, almost 13 Bitcoin in volume. So is that close to, it's like 700 grand, 800 grand. So close to $1 million in daily volume. I don't know where I don't know if I could find the liquidity. Oh, let's go over to the pools. Let's see. But anyhow, I think dot swap's really setting itself up now to kind of take the lead. I'm really sad because I thought this is what Omnisat was going to be back in the day, but it looks like dot swap is really taking the lead. Chris, what's your take on this? Yeah, they probably need to start tracking this, the data aggregators, whether it's Genie Data or who's the other one, Best in Slot, should probably start tracking this, because I was posting earlier today, or the other day, the volume for runes has dropped around, somewhere in the billion or $1 million range for 24 hours, but that's just aggregating off of Magic Eden, Unisat, and what's the other one? Magic Eden, Unisat, and OKX. But here, right, if they're putting up almost the same amount of volume, the volume is actually much higher than what the data providers are showing. So yeah, they're gonna have to get on that. So yeah, I've got some TVL stats for them. It's actually not bad. So total TVL on dot swaps gotten much higher than last time I checked here. 41 Bitcoin in total TVL. So that's, it's not bad. It's like 2.5 million, I think, if it's at 60K. Yeah, so you're saying like 2.5 to almost 3 million in TVL. There has been zero point 0.3 Bitcoin added in the last 24 hours. And they've had 16,000 transactions of a liquidity provision, and a 606 Bitcoin in all from farmers or liquidity providers coming in and depositing and withdrawing. This is by far the highest that I've seen of any of these other ones. I think the second place swap is probably Fluid Tokens, which I'm going to come over here and check just so we can do some comparison. If you can even find, if it even shows. Yeah. Couldn't be more bullish on runes. I do some people coming in and stomping on runes saying that, it's the death of the fungible token ecosystem. BRC20 is still alive and kicking as well. I'm seeing two clear dispersions in the BRC20 and runes community. The Unis or the runes community is becoming um highly decentralized because Casey came in and said that he's not going to add or modify many new features to runes, and the reason why he said that is because he doesn't want to introduce MEV to the protocol. So he's basically allowing builders to come on the application layer and basically commoditize it and battle it out for who has the best product. Whereas you see with BRC20, it's a very centralized kind of full stack integration and build out where Unisat owns the marketplace. They're now building the programmable BRC20 layer that's called Fractal Bitcoin. And then they're building the swap module, as well as they are also the leader. They also run they're the leader on the indexing component of it. And they're also the one of the leaders in terms of proposals. So they pretty much own the entire tech stack, which allows you to scale much faster. But what I'm seeing here now is actually it looks like the the application layer of Runes is actually starting to scale much faster. I mean, this integration into Xverse doesn't exist for BRC20 and the Unisat, even though that they do own and basically have commoditized that entire layer. Although I think both will exist. It's just interesting to kind of see both of those segment out over time. Kind of interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think I'm having a little bit of a mic issue with I think my dongle's messing up here, so I just have to mute every time that you talk, Chris. So if you hear a little bit of an echo, it's a little bit of my I'm having some okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but everything's going good, it seems. Yeah, there's also a cool post here that's from the Sugar Girl where she basically just talks about what this integration really means and what's really happening, and basically just says that the AMM pools are being used for dot swap, and then it's in collaboration with Magic Eden and Unisat. So we haven't seen anything come out from Unisat's side yet. But maybe they'll make that announcement later today because I do believe the conference starts today. A few other ordinal announcements from this morning. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I actually put this tweet out last night, and it was kind of under the premise of that initial idea was that having a first row seat to being a builder in this space, but watching the proliferation of runes and ordinals and BRC20 and all of it. It's been interesting watching everything kind of unfold here. And what I'm seeing is, Magic Eden is coming in and really just dominated the space. They basically overtook in the early days, they overtook Ordinals Market, they overtook Ordinals Wallet, and then they've been battling with Unisat and OKX really, and I don't think it's been really that close for quite a while. So now that they've commandeered the marketplace kind of section of it, they're accruing, dude, tons of fees, millions and millions of dollars every week. And I was looking through through their job offerings the other day that they had posted. And I think, Chris, I think it was with you when we were actually looking through it. There was literally 30 or 40 positions open. All of these jobs were anywhere between like 100K to like $350,000. And so Magic Eden's now in the position to just start really acquiring as much talent as possible, acquiring the best developers, acquiring all of the key leaders in all these different niches, have the best product managers, and they're going to start, building out their own applications and start really coming after, some of these niche kind of areas if they choose to, or they'll go through some of these partnerships where I have a few that I'm going to cover a little bit later. And what happens in these spaces, this happened exactly to OpenSea, so I hope it doesn't happen to Magic Eden, but you never know. Right, once you kinda commandeer space and you become basically a monopoly on it because you have all the key figures, you have basically the habit of all of the traders have just become accustomed to using your platform. These platforms or leaders then eventually become a little bit saturated, and then they become a little bit bloated. And when a team becomes bloated, usually have a few small teams that'll come in and basically disrupt them because they're so nimble. And so it's just something that I'm going to be following moving forward is how Magic Eden is going to play the runes and ordinal space over the next year because they do have just such a huge demand on the entire space here. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know, Chris, what do you think of that? Because they also did something similar with Solana, but I don't think they've been able to wrestle the lead of Solana away from Tensor. Am I correct there? Yeah, they're really just dominating it. So props to them for coming in and seeing an opportunity. On some of the other partnership announcements that I've seen, OrdinalsBot announced today that they're partnering with a company called BTC Royalty to bring iconic IP to Ordinals. There wasn't much information. I tried to look and see what this is, but it says they're partnering with OrdinalsBot, Xverse, Pizza Ninjas, and more. If you know anything about Pizza Ninjas, Trevor's literally been hammering IP for or I guess just IP on the blockchain over the last month or so. His non-ordinal show called it's the one that's partnered with NFT now. I forget what the name of it is, but it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's literally just all about IP and royalties. So it looks like Ordinals Bot, Pizza Ninjas, and a handful of other teams are looking to bring iconic IP to Bitcoin. What that actually means, I'm unsure, but Trevor's involved. So likely they have some very exciting partnerships lined up. On the other side of this, I was actually really, really excited to see this. It's called Ordify or yeah, Ordify. There's just two I's in the name. It's kind of weird. Ordify, Magic Eden Ordify or Ordlify, Ordlify. That's the word name. Magic Eden Ordlify collaborate to streamline the creation and sales of new Bitcoin ordinal collections. So I went in to really kind of see what this is, and it's Ordlify and Magic Eden. They're collaborating on sales. It says Ordlify is a no-code platform for the creation of Bitcoin ordinals, and Magic Eden is the leader in cross-chain NFT marketplaces. Announces collaboration to enhance the creator and collector experience in the Bitcoin ordinals ecosystem. Through this collaboration, artists and founders can use Ordlifi's Creator Studio to design, manage, and inscribe their Ordinals collections. Once launched, creators can immediately connect to Magic Eden's marketplace, enabling secondary sales for their community. The integration also supports Magic Eden Wallet. And it goes on to kind of explain what Ordlify is and what Magic Eden is. What this tells me, this is a very similar product to what OpenSea Studio is. I don't know if anyone's ever created a collection on OpenSea, but there's literally like a whole creator studio where you edit and manage the entire collection. So you could see statistics in terms of the sales. You can see how many views are there. You edit the dashboard, so you can edit the banner, the icon. You can put links up, right? You kind of decorate the storefront. And so this is telling me that Magic Eden's getting into the creator game. And they said Magic Eden or somebody from the Ordlify team comes in and says, today many creators are struggling with the complexity of launching an Ordinals collection with recursion, especially if it's their first time. Said the CEO and co-founder of Ordlify. Integrating with Magic Eden makes the process much easier, allowing artists to go from concept to market in hours. After finalizing their inscriptions, not weeks or months, we're removing barriers and making Ordinals more accessible to non-technical creatives. It says the rollout is expecting to start today, July 24th, 2024. So this is really good for the creators in the space. Again, recursion is something I have no idea how to use. So if they're able to basically abstract this away from somebody who's an artist, and you can just go ahead and use the tooling provided to take your images and have them inscribed in a cheap and efficient manner, and then you have it attached to the Magic Eden storefront to where you can just go ahead and play with all of it in a no-code way, probably something very similar to kind of a Squarespace experience where you can move the storefront around to the degree that you'd like. Very, very bullish for the creator economy on Bitcoin. Magic Eden is coming for OpenSea's lunch, but just for Bitcoin. An interesting thread that I saw today, actually, which maybe we could sit here and talk about this for a second, was from Bread Guy. Bread Guy has some really strong and interesting takes in terms of just point systems and just kind of seeing how the rollout of Ethereum and kind of its use cases. And he brought this towards Bitcoin as well. So it's kind of long. I have it here pulled up on the live stream. I'm going to try to find the thread that he had up yesterday. Oh, here. So he did one for ETH. He did a kind of a doomsday scenario or option for ETH. And then he actually applied it to Bitcoin. And he said that Bitcoin may follow in a similar suit of Ethereum's current situation where it's stuck between a rock and a hard place. So Bread Guy goes out, and this may be a little long-winded here for a second. Bread Guy says, it feels like a pretty pivotal moment in ETH's roadmap, and I don't think the community has conviction to go where it needs to go. So he lays out 3 options for what ETH needs to do. He said option 1 is for ETH to stay on course, optimize for L2s, constrict block space to balance the economics. Because right now there's an issue with Ethereum to where a lot of the activity has moved to the L2s, but this then leads to a large amount of inflation on the layer 1. Because with Ethereum, last year they deployed, was it last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago, EIP 1551, which burns ETH, or the mittance of ETH, as there are more transactions on mainnet. Because most of the transactions have moved to L2s, there is less layer 1 activity, which means now there is an increase in inflation. So he says, right, to optimize for this, you're going to have to constrict the block space to really heavily favor the L2s. He says you could scale Ethereum. This is scaling Ethereum layer 1, expand the block space, reduce block times, and MEV opportunities. Right? This is if you do this option, it's basically if you do this, you're basically giving up on the L2 framework, and you're just acknowledging that L2s were a mistake, and you just basically start scaling layer one in a similar way to what Solana is doing. And then he said option three here is you fail at both. You expand the block space and then you add L2 enhancing features. He said in this world, Ethereum continues with one foot on both sides, failing at both. L2s continue to abuse Ethereum by absorbing all of the execution because Ethereum still kind of sort of tries to scale. And then L2s then keep all of the users and the execution because Ethereum hasn't called it home yet. And Ethereum then makes its block space even more abundant. And so then it is a lose-lose situation. The TLDR here is if Ethereum's core contributors continue to wave on what their next few updates should prioritize, I fear that Ethereum will lose significant ground. He then says at the bottom, P.S. Bitcoin is headed for the same outcome if that ecosystem isn't watching closely and taking learnings from what's materializing. And so this caught me by surprise, right? Because obviously Bitcoin has, a massive amount of block space, although it's kind of down right now. And so he actually laid it out this morning. It was kind of interesting to read this. He said, so with Bitcoin largely survives, on the 21 million supply cap meme. He did say meme here. He said, now play out the modular L2 roadmap that's currently that the current chasm is being faced by ETH, which I already went over. Users migrate from L1 to L2, right? This then reduces activity on the mainnet, and then for ETH, right, it becomes more inflationary because all of the activities move to the L2s. So now he says, let's play this out with Bitcoin. He said users migrate from Bitcoin to L2s. The user fees aren't offset by the L2's posting costs. Bitcoin can't inflate to compensate miners. It's no longer profitable to run up miners, so they exit the system. There are now few miners maintaining the network, and then this leaves it up for a cost to attack, or the reward for the attack is more than the cost for the attack. BTC contemplates lifting the 21 million cap to attract the miners. People freak out. 21 million can change. Price goes down. Enter death loop spiral because people dump Bitcoin. Miners can't earn because all the activities on the L2. Cheaper to attack the chain. Increased likelihood of attack. Eventual scare, and it becomes this downward spiral. He did say it's important to note that this is likely 5 to 7 years away. And that you would need a few more halvenings for this to happen. So it's not a cycle thing. He said the only counter here is that the Bitcoin price, as a pure speculative investment, runs to $1 grillion to delay this. Inevitably, the chain either pivots to programmability, which is something similar to a shitty ETH, or it stays the course and is attacked at some point. I thought that was super interesting. I hadn't really played that thought experiment out. Bread Guy's a very smart guy, and he posts these long threads very, very often. So, Chris, I wanted to get your take on what you think about that scenario. Is it likely? Do you think that the miners at some point run into a situation where, OP-Cat is let's just say OP-Cat is passed, and then some point next year you have all of these L2s that start popping up. All of the users then move to these L2s. And now it's not profitable to run miners anymore. And it's in a similar situation to ETH. Do you think this is something that's likely? Yeah, it's interesting just reading about it and thinking kind of through the ideas. I mean, there's so many variables in play there. I think from what I've been reading from the L2 space, right now the Bitcoin L2 space is your side chain like rootstock where you have this peg in, peg out for Bitcoin, which is something similar to what Stacks is. Or you have these quote unquote EVM Bitcoin L2s, which are like Merlin or Bob or some of these other ones, and they all have a variability. And these are already pulling, activity away. But in terms of, I think what he's talking here is more of this like whether OPCAT gets added, and then you can do these ZK proofs, and you have these kind of more connected Bitcoin L2s where they use something they're calling trustless bridging, which uses OPCAT to go between the L2 and Bitcoin in a closer way. Um, I think that could lead to kind of more likely this scenario if users are just if there is this like peg in peg out, but it's trustless, and then users just go to the L2. I could see a lot of activity going that way because it's kind of quote unquote more in line with the ethos of Bitcoin and doing everything in a trustless way. I could see the miners getting into a tough situation, but I don't know what actually that would mean. I don't think it would mean that these miners would start shutting everything off and shut down, right? There, you still have venture capital that could come in and save a lot of these miners. There's other ways to go about it. Where it's also kind of skipping past the idea that there could be there could be other innovations that are introduced to Bitcoin during that time that keeps activity on the main net and keeps the miners fed and keeps the security budget much higher for an attack. So it is something to follow, but ultimately, I'm no expert in miners, so it's really tough to know. But thinking about where the pace of all this innovation is going on Bitcoin, it does seem like there's still a lot of things that are going to continue to pop up here, and there's also so many other protocols where if you think 5 years from now, there could literally be 10 flourishing, protocols on Bitcoin that are all being used in some capacity, whether it's ordinals, runes, BRC20, stamps, right? Atomicals, counterparty, XYZ that comes out here in the future that could keep the miners fed. But tough to know. Something to follow though. Yeah, completely agree. Speaking of some of these other protocols that exist on Bitcoin, there was a recent, I guess you'd say, win in the counterparty space. Unspendable Labs, who is just the co-founding team, they rebranded to Unspendable Labs. They released the beta version of what they're calling the Horizon Explorer, which is a native counterparty blockchain explorer and the first standalone product built by Unspendable Labs. So this was a big win for the counterparty community because we've been using X Chain as the explorer for, man, I think since 2017. So it's got to be going on 7 years now, and this is now in the wheelhouse of the co-founding team and the active dev team that's building for counterparty. It has a lot of similar features, a little bit of a different UI. Can say there's a few things that they've added here, something called dividends, which I think is just airdrops, to be honest. Dispensers is similar. Dispenses is kind of cool. I think these are so now there's a feed for, you can see which assets have been purchased through a dispenser. So you can see on the live stream, there's been 10 active purchases through a counterparty dispenser over the last 11 hours. So there is some actual activity that's going on here on the native Bitcoin network. I believe dividends is airdrops. I don't know why they put dividends. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. You got orders, sends, sweeps. I don't know what sweeps are. And then it has mempool, which is actually pretty cool. This was not on Xchain. So you can see here, there was an order for somebody paid. Oh man, I don't even know how much this is. A lot of XCP for 24 Pepe paid cards. And that is currently sitting in the mempool. Somebody issued a new stamp. And yeah, so this is pretty big win for counterparty community. I would expect that the next product that they're probably going to launch is probably a web extension wallet, I would say, or if they're just going to go ahead and add, or if they're just going to go ahead and add that new update for PSBTs. But when we had Adam on the show, I think that was like a few months ago, maybe 2 months ago, he said that the plans were to do the wallet first before the protocol, because if there's no web extension wallet for counterparty, then no one's going to use this. So let's be honest there. Something in the Bitcoin stamp space. There's a product, and I saw them in the crowd earlier. I don't think they're here. A service called the Bitname, which is a next-gen naming service, has been making a lot more progress recently. I saw Mike talking about them. Bitname is a naming service that's using the stamps protocol here. I'm just going to go to the website to highlight them a little bit, because I haven't seen that much activity happening in the stamps ecosystem. Unfortunately, it's been a little bit stagnant here. So, but it does seem like Bitname has been doing well. So you can acquire your initial domain to access the Bitcoin world, and it supports .btc. I saw some .btc sales the other day as well, in light of this protocol getting some action here. So it's just immutable, right? It's the same thing, .btc, .sats. They're calling this SRC 101 is the standard for this. So it has its own standard. The website is actually, quite well. It's been put together pretty nicely. So it seems like this team is intent to build this out. They even have a prize pool going on right now. So ensure your wallet is connected to the BTC testnet. You could join the Galaxy for Chapter 1 Solar System request to share 7,000 in USDT. So the Galaxy event here, if I'm going up to their website, I think this is like a social media kind of campaign, which I see a lot of these other teams do. So if you're interested in Bitcoin stamps, Bitname service seems to be leading on the frontier of activity in the stamps space. Other good news, I wish Adam was here to talk about this, but Bell's coin saw a huge pump the other day. It was literally, I think it was up like 40 or 50% in a single day on the announcement that Bell's Core V3 is here. What is Bell's Core V3? Well, it actually makes Bell's coin usable. It has a handful of updates. The most important ones, I would say, is that it's going to include merge mining with Dogecoin and Litecoin. And also it's going to bring down it's going to, I guess, increase the TPS, or transactions per second, higher throughput, and it'll be something that's similar to an experience on Dogecoin, but with an active development community and some base developers who are going to continue to build on this. I think this is really, really bullish. And you can actually go ahead, if you go to the GitHub. So if you go to the Twitter account, Bell's Chain, and you look at one of their recent posts, You can actually download V3. I believe it's still in testnet. Yeah, it says the version is suitable for testing purposes, but if you want to get ahead of the game, you could go ahead and test that out, and then you can upgrade to V3 nodes. It says that we are now actively communicating with exchanges and pools, migrating to V3. Once it's done, merge mining will be activated at block 144,000. I think it's in a few weeks to, I believe, to be honest. And then there's also the Nintendo Marketplace, which is going to be launching here. It looks like it says towards the end of summer. Nintendo is the Bells Coin web extension wallet, which is built by an independent team. So props to them. And it says that in collaboration with Bitmain Tech, we believe that the V3 will be a groundbreaking advancement for script mining. I know Adam actually went to a Bitmain conference to speak specifically on Bell's Coin. And it seems like Bitmain, who's the one of the largest, if not the largest, miner producer for hardware in the world, if they're bullish on Bell's Coin, man, that's a very, very healthy sign there. Chris, have you been tracking Bell's Coin at all? What do you think the future of Bell's Coin can be? Do you think it can actually be something something of a more programmable or functional Dogecoin? Retribution. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are actually going to be surprised by Bell's Coin. I think just because I'm most bullish on the developer community that's on it, in that it's not going to face some of the pains and issues that Dogecoin has, right? With like the infinite supply and kind of this like broken nature of it. There's actual real developers here. It had a very free and fair distribution, and Adam did a good job, allowing that to happen. And there's people who are interested. It already has Bellinals on top of it. There, Nook, I guess you'd call it the Bell 20, is already fully minted out, and people are just waiting to trade this stuff. And I think I don't think it'll be just kind of a Dogecoin testnet. I think there will actually be like its own kind of self-sustaining community here. So that's a very, very exciting time for Bells. Maybe it even overtakes what the Dogenals community was supposed to be. And speaking of Dogenals, Woofy Swap, who is, I guess, one of the kind of leading swap tools that's been around now for a little while. They're getting ready to launch I guess it's their Woofy V3. It says as soon as the Leica mainnet launches, which is the Dogecoin L2, which they've actually been putting some work in. Maybe I'll cover that next. So you'll be able to create your liquidity pool and staking pool on Woofy V3. You can set up trading pairs, incentivize your liquidity providers to ensure a good level of liquidity, offer single side staking. So finally, I know the Dogecoin or the Dogecoin community has been waiting on this for a while. They're opting to go to the the L2 route here until Dogecoin and developer activity really picks up and figures its shit out on the mainnet. Leica mainnet is scheduled to launch July 28th. So I believe that's just a few days from now. I've been following their testnet, they've really been honing in on memes in terms of migrating. This is a testnet, but you could, I think there's an SPL20 and an ERC20 integration, so you can bridge over your Solana meme coins and your Ethereum meme coins. The question here with Leica is, will there be any builders actually who build on this from the application layer? Or is this thing just going to be a ghost town with just a swap tool? So that'll be something to follow. We've been waiting on this for quite a long time. I think I participated in their pre-sale literally like 5 months ago. So I've been kind of waiting on these coins. It says the Leica Bridge. So for the Leica Bridge, it looks like it supports a DRC20, Doge, Ethereum, Solana, and Base. Looks like the 4 networks that they are supporting off the get-go. Chris, I would love to hear your opinion on the state of Doginals. Is the L2 the right direction to go? Will people even care, or did the Doginal community literally just fade into irrelevance? Yeah, I completely agree. In other news, maybe it's a little bit of Emblem news. We are going to do a town hall next Thursday, so pay attention to that. Over the weekend, we did migrate some. We did migrate a few name coin collections, including Twitter eggs and oh, what's up? Oh shit, my bad. Can you hear me now? So over the weekend, from the Emblem perspective, we migrated a few collections. We did migrate the Twitter eggs and blockheads fully. We did run into some issues migrating some name coin collections. So we are doing some fine tuning over that in the current time. I have it here pulled up on the live stream. You can see the blockheads. There's like 10 or so that were migrated. And then from the Twitter eggs perspective, I believe it was close to 100 that was migrated over here. It looks like there's a few people listing at 4 ETH already. And once these are done, once we're done fine tuning, we're going to migrate the remainder of the Namecoin assets. And then we're going to go ahead and migrate over then the remainder of the counterparty and Bitcoin ordinals and Bitcoin stamps. And then we can finally move on to the next chapter of Emblem. Also, we do have Emblem.vision that's almost live. Oh man, there's so many bugs on all these different things. So you can go to Emblem.vision right now. You could see our new interface, our new minting platform. There was an issue with actually minting vaults and unvaulting them, which our dev team is currently working on. But then once that issue is fixed, this will be completely ready to go. It'll be mobile friendly as well. So a very exciting time to say the least. We do have a lot of plans moving forward, which I will share some of them next week during the town hall. In light of Emblem Markets launching, it does seem like there's been a pretty large increase in sales activity for Spells of Genesis and Rare Pepe. We're seeing now it's got to be 15 to 20 sales at least per day through Emblem Markets. Even some fake rares are getting sales. We saw Another rare Pepe Nakamoto card was sold yesterday for, I believe, around 120,000. That's got to be the fourth one over the last, yeah, so here it is. 33.25 ETH for 113,000. That's got to be the fourth one or so since the start of the month that is sold. There's also been 3 Satoshi cards and I think 3 FD cards as well. So 13 high value sales since the launch of Emblem markets. So there's definitely some renewed interest in the space. I can't wait for the day when we're finally done with this migration and we could continue on with the next chapter of Emblem. So without that, I'll pass for the rest of the week. I know it is Thursday. It's the official start of Bitcoin Nashville. So I expect over the next 3 days, I think it's a 3-day conference, we're probably going to see a large variety of announcements. I did see that there's now indications that Cynthia Loomis, who's one of the sitting senators, is the one who is going to propose the strategic Bitcoin reserve proposal or plan, where I believe where the United States is taking the 200,000 Bitcoin that it owns and locking it up for an extended period of time. I think the value of those 200,000 Bitcoin currently is sitting around 16 billion. So you can see that price increasing quite drastically. I think the only people who has any more Bitcoin than the US is Michael Saylor, who's just an absolute madman himself. So expect a lot of stuff coming out over the next few days. We're going to continue working hard over here on the Emblem side so that. Wow, that's actually a genius idea. If that's something you're thinking about, I think it's probably pretty likely, generally pretty on the nose when it comes to these publicly traded kind of ideas or mergers or integrations. So basically, Block is the parent company for Cash App, right? And Jeff Garzik is somebody who's a general partner, I believe, or something or maybe even co-founder of Block, which is Cash App. And if you weren't here yesterday to listen, Hemi was just announced yesterday by Jeff Garzik, who's a Bitcoin core developer, who's basically said that it's running on its Hemi VM, but also has EVM components. So it looks like it's Bitcoin forward, but he did mention that it's going to bring Ethereum assets to Bitcoin as well. So I wouldn't doubt that. And if that is like a basic on-off ramp for Cash App, I would say that is incredibly bullish. Now I'm just waiting to hear what Jack has to say about it, right? Because he's been pretty anti everything outside of Bitcoin, and this has literally in the announcement has the word Ethereum like multiple times. But if Jack Dorsey comes out and supports it, I think the L2 space is going to be just even more increasingly hot. Everyone is building an L2 at this point. That's the meta here. But who's going to get the users is the big question. Yeah, I completely agree as well. Well, we're going to wrap the show up here today. It was another great Inscription show. Lots of Bitcoin updates. Honestly, just a lot of updates across the board. Bell's coin had a huge boost. It looks like Doginal's community is finally going to go through the next iteration of whatever they're doing over there in the next few weeks. Some activity for Bitcoin stamps, some activity for Counterparty. You can just kind of feel the rumblings that even though the price is quite dislocated from the all-time highs, the developer activity is really starting to ramp up, which is something we said here many months ago when the price when the price had topped, was that this is how the cycles in crypto works, is that the price always exceeds the developer activity. People take profits, dev teams take profits, and then the price depreciates over, the coming months or years. And then once the development supersedes the price, then the price will start running up again, and we run it back turbo as we always do. I would say probably here, my expectation is maybe sometime before the election, or sometime after, depending on who's taking the lead, and if it's a crypto friendly candidate or not. If there's very strong signs that a crypto friendly candidate's going to win even before the election happens, then I could see the price running up probably a few weeks beforehand. You can see people try to front run it. If not, if it's really unclear, then we're probably just gonna have to wait until the election happens. So we'll be here every week. We'll be running through it, whether it's we're going to zero or whether we're going to the moon, whether Emblem is going to be the superior cross-chain protocol in the industry, or we just blow up trying. We're going to be here every day in and out trying to do this. So appreciate everyone following us along. And, for all the crowds, we're going to be here in and out every day. Enjoy your Thursday. Be safe out here. And we'll be back Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, guys, have a great weekend.